Kicking off the list at number 10, we have the Absorbing Man. Carl Crusher Creel already sounds intimidating enough. The Absorbing Man made his comic book debut back in Journey into Mystery issue 114. He was raised in the Bronx, and at a young age his mother passed away, and his father certainly wasn't there for him after. He was not a role model as well, to say the least. So sadly, Carl turned to the life of crime in order to pay the bills. And while he was spending time in the gym, he realized he was actually a pretty great boxer. He did so well that he became known as Crusher Creel, but that life of crime was still sprinkled in there, and then he was recruited as an enforcer for the Owl's Men. He eventually got caught and locked up, but this is when things start going a little bit fun in a way. See, Loki, Loki the god of mischief, he added this rare Asgardian herb to Carl's drinking water in hopes that he would get this new ability to take down Thor. Now this new ability made him the Absorbing Man, a guy who could absorb the physical properties of anybody that he came into contact with. His first battle was with Thor, and then when he came back to Earth, he went toe to toe with the Hulk. I'd love an Absorbing Man in the MCU, honestly. I feel like I could watch 2 movies with Carl just fist bumping all of our Avengers and causing chaos, taking powers, of course. And before we go on to number 9, if you guys could go ahead and toss this video a thumbs up, that would be great because those likes do wonders for our page. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Now back to some more Hulk villains. Number 9, Speed Freak. Making his first debut in Incredible Hulk issue 388, Speed Freak aka Joss Shapp was a criminal who at one point got addicted to the substance called Snap. Oh snap. This plus the fact that he stole a super suit from an inventor sounds like a perfect supervillain origin story in the making. So Speed Freak had been hired by a man named Mr. Lang, and one of his first jobs was to attack a guy who had infected Mr. Lang's son. So Speed Freak went to fight it out, and while there, he had the misfortune of crossing paths with the Incredible Hulk, who tossed Speed Freak quite the distance. So his suit alone gives Speed Freak quite the advantage. It gives him the ability to hover above the ground, flying, literally being able to fly, and he also has arm-mounted adamantium cutting blades, so he might be a bit too crazy for the MCU, at least right now. Number 8, The Leader. Samuel Stearns, aka The Leader, made his first debut in Tales to Astonish, issue 62. He was working one night at a chemical research plant, and when he was moving canisters of waste material, one of the containers, bam, they broke open and then covered him in gamma radiation. Stearns survived just like Banner did, but it affected him in a different way. He went from being smart to becoming a genius, and his brain could absorb more and more information. It was his superpower. And it got to a point where his physical body started to mutate, so now he has this giant green brain head. I mean, he clearly looks like a villain, and then he started to refer to himself as the Leader, using his intellect to become a criminal mastermind. He clashed with the other Gamma guy, Banner. In fact, he actually ruined Betty and Bruce's wedding. What a jerk.
Coming in at number 7, we have the evil Patchwork, a serial killer that somehow manages to be even more depraved than Carnage and Cletus Cassidy combined. Patchwork was one of the very first villains ever faced by Doc Samson, when the Doctor decided to do some solo superheroing and proved to be a worthy opponent. Using the gamma radiation oozing off his body to murder innocent women and make horrific sculptures with them, Patchwork was an incredibly durable and strong foe once he came face to face with a gamma-powered equal, and proved to be a worthy first opponent to be defeated by Doc Samson.
Number 6, Nightmare. Making his first debut back in Strange Tales issue 110, Nightmare's origin remains a mystery, and it's only known to few. He's both a conceptual entity, part of all of existence, just like eternity, and he's also a deity. So the guy's just trouble. He's just trouble. He was born in the Ever and I dimension, and he was seen as a cousin to the Dweller in Darkness. He knew Dweller's origins, he wanted no part in all that stuff. Nightmare has crossed paths with the Hulk many times. At one point he caused the Hulk to have these hallucinations, and of course he had nightmares for years, because his name's Nightmare. You got it. Even Betty Ross, Bruce's love, isn't safe from Nightmare. Nightmare once entered her mind and did horrible things to her while she was dreaming. He's kind of like Freddy Krueger, and seeing as WandaVision didn't want to bring in Nightmare when they had a good chance to, it's probably best if the Hulk and Betty never met him as well.
Number 5, Onslaught. After Magneto used his powers to rip the adamantium out of Wolverine's body, Professor Xavier snapped and shut down the mind of Magneto. In the process of this, Xavier absorbed all the anger, grief, and lust for vengeance from Magneto's mind, which molded with every long suppressed negative feeling the professor had endured during the last 30 years. This resulted in a personality forming within Xavier, known as Onslaught, that would eventually separate to become a separate entity all on its own. Onslaught was incredibly powerful, and all the Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four could not take him. That's when Bruce Banner's Hulk said, "Hold my beer," and told Phoenix to turn off the Bruce personality inside his head. She did, and the Savage Hulk beat Onslaught so hard he destroyed his impenetrable armor, allowing Thor to land a massive blow and the heroes to take the win.
Number 4. Red Hulk. He made his first appearance in Incredible Hulk issue 1 as General Ross, but come the first issue of volume 2, Ross goes beast mode and becomes one of the Hulk's greatest threats of all time. Red Hulk was created using gamma radiation like the Hulk, but what makes him more of a foe is the fact that he also has cosmic rays added to that already aggressive mix. So the Red Hulk, or Rolk, which is fun to say, doesn't get stronger the angrier he gets like Bruce. No, he actually gets hotter. Yeah, he gets so hot and then all of a sudden he turns into Ryan Gosling. No, like heat. He physically burns up, that's what I mean. So during one of the first run-ins with the Red Hulk, when the two Goliaths were scrapping it out, the sand around them melted because of this heat and turned into glass, which is pretty cool. More stuff to break too, which you gotta love if you're the Hulk.
Number 3. Surtur. We mentioned the MCU in the last point, but I thought I'd go full force into it. In Thor Ragnarok, we get to see Hulk attack Surtur, the fire giant, as he is destroying Asgard with the Twilight Sword. It's actually really awesome. So he has fought Surtur, but how would that go in the comics? That's a good question. Well, we know that Surtur's main purpose is to beat Odin, so he is at least on Odin's level. You know who else is on Odin's level? Zeus. And Zeus and Hulk have had a bit of a scuffle once upon a time, which didn't go well for the Hulk. But then again, you take one of Hulk's more powerful forms like Worldbreaker Hulk or Heart of the Monster Hulk, and Hulk takes the win every time.
Number 2. Wendigo. This next one comes from Canada, so we gotta keep an eye out for this one, Chris. We gotta keep our peepers open. Paul Cartier made his comic book debut in the Incredible Hulk issue 162. Yes, that rhymed. The Wendigo is a result of an ancient curse from the elder gods of Canadian folklore, and it transforms anybody who eats human flesh into this massive fur-covered beast, so don't eat flesh. It's been referred to as an indestructible force of nature being made from the gods and all. Now this all began when 2 Canadian lads were in the wilderness hunting, and then when wolves attacked and wounded one of the men, he ended up passing away from the attack, and his buddy was really hungry. He was starving, so he kind of sort of had to eat his friend's skin to survive. Yuck, but also you have to, man, it's part of it. Thus turning him into this Wendigo. Now it took Wolverine's help for the Hulk to take the Wendigo down, and just the origin story alone for this guy, I don't think we'll be seeing humans eating other humans in the MCU anytime soon, or if we do, hopefully it's Marvel Zombies. Either way, I'm not ready for that yet. Number 1. The Maestro. I know that name sounds cool, but this guy is an absolute nightmare to be around. He is not a conductor of classical music, no. In the series Incredible Hulk Future Imperfect, we see this version of the Hulk way more weird than Smart Hulk dabbing. Yeah, even weirder than that. He made his first appearance in a vision in the Incredible Hulk Volume 2 issue 401, and Maestro was the main antagonist in the Incredible Hulk Future Imperfect storyline. Now this story of course takes place about 100 or so years in the future after a nuclear war put the planet super close to extinction. Now this alternate future version of the Hulk, Maestro, had been absorbing all of the nuclear radiation this entire time, and he ended up becoming the strongest thing on the planet. Massive increases in strength and anger plus the brains of Banner made him arguably unstoppable. He's big, smart, strong, and a total nightmare to be around. I mean, maybe we could get some sort of Future Imperfect storyline, but I feel like it's way too dark for Disney. But hey, never say never.
Coming in at number 10, we have the She-Hulk villain Abominatrix, who surprisingly enough doesn't actually have a connection with the more well-known villain, the Abomination, despite apparently being a gender-flipped version of him. Born under the name of Florence Sharples, Florence volunteered for a medical study that involved test subjects being exposed to gamma rays. As a result, Florence became a gamma-mutated creature that was constantly in a state of anger, unable to return to her human form as her rage continued to grow. Eventually, she would come into conflict with She-Hulk and nearly destroy Las Vegas during their ensuing fight, showing that the Abominatrix is not to be messed with. Coming in at number 9, we have Bert Horowitz, aka the super genius villain known as Omnibus. Following an incident in which the leader detonated a gamma bomb inside a small town in the middle of Arizona, a local salesman named Bert Horowitz found himself rapidly becoming more intelligent by the minute, a similar mutation to the villain who had detonated the gamma bomb in the first place. In fact, when the leader was believed to be dead for a time, Bert took the name of OMNIBUS and replaced the leader's position in his massive spy network, becoming a new foe that the Incredible Hulk would have to deal with until the true leader finally returned to take back what was rightfully his. Coming in at number 8, we have the very unfortunately named Jailbait, aka Jesse Harrison, turned into a gamma mutant during the same gamma bomb event in Arizona that also spawned Omnibus. Jesse not only gained the traditional green skin and enhanced strength, but also possessed the ability to generate psionic blasts and force fields, depending on her level of concentration. And while Jesse's story was recently shown to have ended in tragedy during the Immortal Hulk series, for a long time she stood strong as one of the guardians of the leader's freehold paradise, another green Goliath for the Hulk to have to battle.
Number 7. Juggernaut. Cain Marko, the avatar of the god Sidorak. Cain is a Thor-level threat to the Marvel Universe, wielding the abilities granted to him by the Gem of Sidorak. Juggernaut has almost limitless super strength and stamina. He has a nearly invulnerable force field, he's immortal, and when he does somehow get damaged, he has a ridiculous healing factor. His main ability, however, is irresistible force embodiment, meaning once he begins to advance in a certain direction, it is virtually impossible to halt his movements. Guess who is one of the only characters to actually stop him? Thor! Yes, but shut up! Hulk! Hulk was one of them when he was War Hulk. Gosh, I gotta stop getting ahead of myself.
Coming in at number 6, we have Tony Masterson, aka Half-Life. Living most of his life as a quiet college professor, Tony's life was forever changed when he accidentally fell victim to a gamma bomb experiment being conducted by S.H.I.E.L.D. The explosion bleached his skin a ghostly green and convinced Tony that he had died and was now a walking corpse. Giving himself the name Half-Life, the villain was a worthy foe for the Hulk after being manipulated by the leader, and had the unique ability to drain the life force of his enemies through touch alone, like some sort of gamma-infused vampire or ghoul. This meant that the Hulk had to be a bit more creative when it came to fighting him, as punching Half-Life would only wind up giving him more power.
Number 5. Ravage. Dr. Geoffrey Crawford was a professor of physics at Desert State University and was a mentor to Bruce Banner initially. See, Crawford was developing this teleportation device where point A would scan all of your DNA and then zoom, your DNA would end up on the other end. Sounds like nothing could ever go wrong at all in that thing. So Banner went back to Crawford in hopes that he could help him think of a solution for his big green alter ego problem. And then when Bruce got there, Crawford was in a wheelchair and he was suffering from a disease, but he still opted out to help Bruce with his problem. What a nice guy. Turns out Crawford wanted Bruce's DNA in hopes of curing his debilitating disease, but while testing out his theory, he warped to point B and then the DNA had bonded with him, creating this other type of Hulk called Ravage. And because Bruce tried to stop him during this, his DNA meshed together while he was angry, so you already know what that looks like.
Coming in at number 4, we have Emil Blonsky, aka Abomination. A Croatian spy during the Cold War undercover on the same military base where Bruce Banner became the Hulk, Blonsky was the victim of a second gamma experiment when he foolishly activated the reactor on his own. Transformed into a green creature with claws even deadlier than the Hulk, Blonsky took the name Abomination once he realized he could not return to human form, and his days as an incognito spy were over. Stronger and with a healing factor on par with the Hulk's, Abomination is a twisted look at what gamma radiation can do to someone who's already a trained killer.
Number 3. Juggernaut. Cain Marko made his first comic book appearance in X-Men issue 12. Cain and Charles Xavier were serving together in the same unit, but when Cain was under fire, he ran off to take cover in a nearby cave. Now this cave was actually home to the lost temple of Sidorak, so Cain grabbed this glowing ruby from the lap of an idol, which is a great idea if you've seen every movie. He read the inscription and possessed the power of the crimson bands of Sidorak, becoming a human Juggernaut. Then an explosion went off, poof, and the Juggernaut was trapped under the rubble and Xavier got out of dodge. Now after he dug himself out, he destroyed an entire village with the previous man who held the Juggernaut title, Gentaiko, in the mix as well. While it might be cool to see Juggernaut and the Hulk fight in live action, we also have to get the X-Men there first, and it doesn't seem like Marvel is in a rush to bring them in, as we saw from WandaVision. Hashtag Ralph Boner. In World War Hulk and X-Men issue 2, we see these two magnificent beasts go at it, and they're both pretty close in strength, but what makes Kane hard to fight is the fact that he can last some time without needed rest. His stamina is nuts. He can also summon his armor at any time, so that certainly comes in handy.
Coming in at number 2, we have Samuel Stearns, aka the Leader. Many people throughout the Marvel Universe can claim to be geniuses, but only the Leader has the unbelievably tall skull to seemingly prove it. Born a simple blue-collar American worker until an accident doused him in gamma radiation, Samuel found himself getting the opposite of most other gamma mutates' powers. Instead of becoming incredibly strong, he became incredibly smart, gaining an increased head size as his intellect, ego, and ambition all swelled. No matter how powerful and strong most of the Hulk's enemies may seem, few can compare to the terrifying genius of the Leader when he's fully unleashed, as his plans have nearly destroyed or conquered the world on countless occasions, and have only been able to be stopped by the Hulk and Bruce Banner trying to use his own genius-like intellect. And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have the most powerful gamma being of all, because he's the source of all of them. That's right, it's the one below all, residing in the very lowest point of reality at the very bottom of the multiverse. The one below all is the ultimate personification of destruction and hate, essentially being the Hulk-esque alter ego of the one above all, the divine creator of the entire Marvel multiverse. The one below all is the source of all gamma radiation, as it uses the energy source to gain access to other worlds across the multiverse, and resurrect gamma-related beings if they die after becoming connected to the one below all. Even with all of the crazy additions to the Hulk's mythology in the past few years, the one below all is perhaps the greatest, most powerful addition of all time. And who knows what the future holds for the creator of Gamma itself.
Number 10, Maker. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Ultimate Universe is awesome. Hulk in this universe is actually quite a bit scarier, at least to me. You know who else is scarier? Reed Richards, the Maker. The Maker is the Reed Richards of the Ultimate Universe, who is evil. He's part of a group of superpowered beings alongside Hulk, Human Torch, Kang, and Quicksilver, who are called the Dark Ultimates. They are essentially villains together, and Hulk and Maker are actually kind of on the same team. Maker actually battles Hulk in a more psychological way, when he calms one of his rampages and convinces him he's being used by S.H.I.E.L.D. After a whole whack of confusing comic booky stuff, the Ultimates all team up and save the day, and then travel the cosmos hunting down the Maker. Number 9. The Leader. It's a great name, honestly. The Leader. Nice. Rightfully so too. This guy is one of the Hulk's oldest rivals. Samuel Stearns was a janitor at a chemical facility where he unfortunately also had an incident involving gamma radiation. Samuel's gamma mutations gained him a super genius level intelligence, along with some telepathy. He also has the gamma ability of self-resurrection. There is actually an instance in Immortal Hulk number 39 in which he physically consumes the intelligence of another man, Brian Banner. But we don't know if this is a normal ability or a kind of mental representation of him consuming another person's knowledge, since he was in the below place at the time. The Leader fights with Bruce on so many different occasions, but the Immortal Hulk story is the one I'm really into right now. You should check it out if you haven't before. Number 8, Maestro. The Maestro is technically Hulk himself, only an alternate version, one who lived through a nuclear apocalypse. He has the intelligence of Bruce, but basically double the strength of Hulk in his base form. He has easily defeated the Hulk several times, and his existence as a possible future version of the Hulk scares the hell out of Bruce himself. He is what would happen if you took the Hulk and made him evil and power hungry and powered him up. In his timeline, he rules over the megacity of Dystopia, where the remnants of humanity live, and he overthrew the former ruler Hercules not through pure strength, but through deception. He is powerful, ruthless, and just a pretty rude dude. Well, here we are. We meet again, at the end of the 8th point. You know how great you are? Pretty great. When you gingerly press upon that like and subscribe button, it lets us know that this is the kind of content you like to see. So, thanks for doing that. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook too. You can find a little extra content. Alright, let's carry on, shall we?
Number 7. Greg Gargoyle. He made his first comic book debut with Journey into Mystery issue 107. Greg Gargoyle, aka Dr. Paul Duval, was a young chemist working for a pharmaceutical company in Paris, and when he spilt a contaminated potion on his right hand, it started to turn into this stone-like material. Not like Medusa though, where you're stone and immobile. Dr. Greg Gargoyle McGee was actually able to move whilst maintaining the stone form. So he looks scary and he actually can do some damage. But everything he touched turned into this stone stuff. And it's super scary to have this happen, but I can't help but chuckle at how human Greg is when this transformation happens. He's like, oh no, my hand. Oh no, my other hand. Shoot, what do I do? Oh no, my face. That's like when they said you shouldn't touch your face during COVID-19. I'm like, what do I do with my hands? How do I act normal? What have I been doing for 26 years? What's going on? So Greg has a few good ideas with this ability. He tossed a stone airplane at his enemies, so that's a cool thing he can do. And then in the Incredible Hulk issue 363, Greg uses his powers to take down the Hulk. It's not easy, but it sure makes it easier when the Hulk is literally stoned during the fight.
Number 6. Nightmare. A mysterious lord of fear. Nightmare is basically an unstoppable demon capable of capturing the astral form or spirit of a person while they are sleeping. Nightmare has been shown to be capable of subduing 2 earth demigods, an eternal and an elder god. That's the kind of power we're talking about. But you can solve any problem when you're an impossibly strong green monster made of pure muscle, right? Nightmare manages to capture Hulk's mind and send him on a rampage against Dr. Stephen Strange. Luckily, the good doctor was able to contact Banner inside the Hulk's mind. I don't really know how one does this, but Banner transformed into the Hulk inside the Hulk's mind and fought off Nightmare. They've clashed a few other times, like when he took off Nightmare's head and stole his horse. Again, I don't know how it works, but it is what it is.
Coming in at number 5, we have Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, aka the Red Hulk. Now, we did also have this guy on our list about most powerful Gamma heroes, but considering how his story started out, he definitely also counts for the villain list. Following the death of his daughter after years of pursuing the Hulk, Ross was manipulated by MODOK and several other supervillains into becoming the Red Hulk, in case his nemesis should ever return from his exile in outer space. Following the Hulk's return and defeat, the new Red Hulk began causing damage across the globe, even getting into a fight with Thor on the moon and causing an earthquake in San Francisco from the sheer force of him jumping back to Earth. All in all, the Red Hulk definitely caused some major destruction.
Number 4. Thanos. Thanos is an interesting one, and we're talking without the Infinity Gauntlet. See, he is exceedingly strong, so much so that he can stand toe to toe with Hulk, at least at Hulk's base strength. Thanos tends to have the advantage in most of their conflicts, using his intelligence and martial skill to take the win more often than not. We see an excellent example of this in the MCU's Infinity War, even if it was a stupid excuse for Hulk not to show up for the rest of the movie. The two of these guys have traded wins pretty evenly, but Thanos has the advantage in my mind. If you have the time, check out the Thanos vs. Hulk 4-part story. It's a cool story involving Annihilus, and it leads right into Thanos the Infinity Relativity, which is also a really fun read.
Coming in at number 3, we have Maestro, a twisted and evil version of the Hulk from a possible alternate future, giving himself a new name after conquering what remains of America following a nuclear winter in this dark future. This version of the Hulk has become far stronger than his original gamma green form, with years of sucking up deadly radiation only improving his ferocity and his power. When the real Hulk encountered this warlord version of himself, the only way he was able to finally come out on top was by literally warping the Maestro back in time to be killed by the same gamma bomb that created the Hulk back in the 60s. But even since then, this future version of the Hulk still seems to keep finding ways to return and claim dominion over the world that he claims he deserves to rule.
Number 2. Galactus. He's a cosmic being who goes around eating planets, and he thinks he can try to come to Earth and pull that nonsense? We have a Hulk. Earth's dinner menu is no longer available. Oh, just kidding. The Hulk has not won against Galactus, and they've never really had a one-on-one fight. It's safe to say that of all the heroes on Earth, Hulk is maybe one who could make Galactus notice him though. But that's likely as far as it will go. Just like with Surtur, in theory he could win if he got angry enough, but we just haven't had an example of that. And it would have to be quite the insane level of power for Hulk to take the win. Hulk does actually become the Herald of Galactus at one point when he becomes Worldbreaker Hulk in What If World War Hulk, and it is just insane. Number 1. The One Below All. In the Immortal Hulk storyline, Hulk is transported to the Below Place. which is the realm of the One Below All. Now, just to give some context, in Marvel Comics there's a character called the One Above All, who hasn't really been seen all too often, but it essentially is the equivalent to God, or the creator. Now we have gods like Odin and Zeus and Thor in Marvel Comics, but this is different. It is like the god of everything, the supreme ruler of creation and compassion. It's even been represented as the writers of Marvel at one point, to give you an idea. So the One Below All is the antithesis to this, the personification of destruction and hate. The One Below All is trapped in the below place and manifests in realities through Gamma. Basically, this means that Hulk and the other Gamma mutated beings have fractions of the One Below All's power. In an alternate future, it would actually take over Bruce Banner's body and use his power to devour the cosmic entity Eternity, and eventually it would eradicate all life in the multiverse. Luckily, this is prevented in the Immortal Hulk storyline, but I'm telling you, go read this.